So we're now in our 5th year of the AZSciTech Festival, and so this year there's over 1,000 events in about 50 cities and towns. And so every year it has grown. We now have about 24 communities that are involved creating their own regional events. This year the attendance is going to probably draw over 400,000 attendees. A lot of the professions these days are starting to demand people that have a skill set with science, technology, engineering, and math skills. And so it's helping to solve problems. It's really to have that technical skill set to do their jobs. So if you're a journalist and you're looking to have a great story about what's going on in the community, the SciTech Festival is a great way to do so, because there's events throughout the different communities everywhere from Chandler to Glendale to Yuma to Flagstaff. It's everywhere, but also each event has its own community, its own story, both at the broader event level and at the individual participants. And so it's a great opportunity. Sort the calendar, you can find the different interest levels, audiences, and contact us about ways to actually, what events would be of interest to go to. And what we're finding is that a lot of the companies like the Boeings and the Raytheons, Orbital ATKs, Honeywells of the world are needing skilled workers to go into their companies. But as we evolve to a more high-tech, science-related workplace, these are becoming skills everybody needs. And so there's this groundswell of a demand to make sure that our workforce has these skills to be a leader. And what we're actually finding that these days it's becoming more important to have these STEM skills. It's actually been at some point called the national crisis that we don't have enough STEM workers able to enter these professions. Initiatives like the Arizona SciTech Festival are really working to increase the public's awareness of what's happening with science, technology in their lives, but also to hopefully engage both the traditional STEM professionals, STEM workers, but also the general public to recognize science and technology in their work. We're finding that I'm in conversations with a lot of the people from the business and the workforce community. I'm finding that these days when I'm talking about STEM, people nod their head. They know that it's something that's important. They're not asking me what does that acronym stand for. There's also several events that we've started working with what we like to call sneaky science. And so for the first year we started, we worked with the Arizona Renaissance Festival and the Glendale Chocolate Affair, and we worked with Scottsdale to create the Science of Baseball event. And we keep seeing more and more organizations basically sneaking science into existing events. So last year we saw the Maricopa Salsa Festival bring science. This year the Ostrich Festival in Chandler is bringing science into it. And so it's becoming more of kind of an in thing that the public is recognizing that it's important, but also really seeing value when events create a STEM experience for their audiences. So we've been fortunate to have a strong foundational partnership from the Arizona Commerce Authority, Arizona Technology Council Foundation, Arizona Science Center, ASU, U of A, and the Arizona Board of Regents. But we've been really lucky to have Cox Communications as a presenting sponsor, and then to have State Farm and Honeywell as our gold sponsors, continuing to really support the festival and keep it rolling. We have an amazing set of sponsors. Silver level, we have 11 of them there. We have a dozen at the bronze level. But we really have a lot of organizations that not only engage providing cash, but they see the importance of really rolling up their sleeves and creating events, being volunteers to help really create programs with us, but to really have a working relationship with our investors. So a key thing that we have with the festival is we want to reach as many different audiences as possible. And although a key stakeholder for the festival has been K-12, our interaction had primarily been at the school district level. But the part that we really wanted to figure out is how do we get that grassroots engagement with the kids? And so we created a program, which is actually the first of its kind nationally, called the Chief Science Officers. And the Chief Science Officers are actually focused, they're elected students by their peers to help advocate for science and technology opportunities both on their campus and in the community. And so the cool thing is with the festival, we actually have about a dozen events that are being co-produced now by the student chief science officers. And so the kids are getting engaged, they're getting their peers engaged, and they're more proactively getting their schools engaged in several of the events. I think the two university events are probably the two most known events, and probably a lot of it's sheer attendance numbers, but they have some really cool interactions. So the ASU has consistently built this event called Night of the Open Door, and it now draws over 20,000 attendees. It grew from about 5,000 the first year, and it's just a great way for people to see what's happening on campus. They open their doors so you can go and see the labs. It gets well over 1,000 of the university community out interacting with the public, which is pretty neat. And you're seeing facilities that you would have never seen. And so I think that's a pretty well-known experience. The other one is in Tucson, the Science City, as part of the Tucson Festival of Books. They get a sheer huge amount of people, very strategically put it as part of the Festival of Books. So they probably get 50,000 people a year going through their different cities, and again, they get hundreds of U of A students and faculty showcasing innovation at U of A and what that takes place. So those are two pretty cool events. So one example is Verde Valley. Initially that wasn't a community that we engaged. They're up in the north. You got Cottonwood, Clarkdale, Camp Verde, Sedona. We actually partnered with the mayor of Cottonwood, and she helped to spearhead this entire Verde Valley SciTech Festival. And this is a person that she's not a STEM professional. That hasn't been her focus, but she recognized that importance to her community. So she went out and recruited a lot of different stakeholders that were both your traditional STEM engagement groups, that might be nature parks and the schools and colleges, but she also got a lot of non-traditional allies that you wouldn't think of. She got the Chamber of Commerce, she got the people from their city, the fire, the police, and really helped to unify them around that STEM topic. And so that model has really been exceptional with communities throughout the state, and it works in rural areas. So in addition to Verde Valley, we now have Prescott has an event. We have one out in Graham County and Safford and Thatcher. El Mirage is starting up with their event. Surprise is running their event. And the advantage is that the events aren't about doing the event. It's about being that vehicle to pull in stakeholders, both the traditional and non-traditional groups, to really convene around this partnership. Because it's not about STEM, for them, it's about workforce, it's about their community, and we give them that platform to communicate. And so I think that growth of diversity is really on all different levels.